We have a very important sequence of discussion points to share with you about how the power of the tourism economy can be harnessed to not only create new tourist product for tour operators, international and ground operators to buy and to sell to tourists, to give them more things to do and to stay longer and spend money, but at the same time to increase the amount of funds that are being filtered back to communities who live in and around areas of tourism economic activity. Too often around places where tourism happens, there are communities of people who are marginalized by not having the linkages between that activity and their livelihoods thought about, developed and made. So during the last couple of years, the Darwin initiative has supported the International Institute for Economic Development in beginning to look at exactly that issue with relation to the Bwindi Impenetrable National Park in southern Uganda. Research showed that despite the fact that the Uganda Wildlife Authority does have a revenue sharing policy, the amount of revenue sharing that got back into the communities was marginal at best, for a number of very good reasons, not least of which is that guerrilla tourism is a very high revenue earner at $600 per permit. Uganda Wildlife has a lot of national parks to look after, so a lot of the revenue has to be spread around the country. So it came as no surprise to us that the thousands and thousands of people who live around Bwindi National Park, a lot of whom were disenfranchised by the creation of the national park in 1991, didn't have any connection whatsoever to the activity of tourism. So we set about trying to change that. We asked people, visitors, lodge operators, camps operators, ground operators, and we asked the people themselves, what is it that you would buy as a tourist or a ground operator if it was available to sell to international and or domestic tourists in Uganda? And it came down to a couple of very, very important things. One, the quality of the present offer was very tiny. The options were few. So left with those two things, we then went and talked to the people themselves, people who make things. Because if you are to change the livelihoods of people, they need to be enfranchised. They need to have income, yes, but they also need to have a business that is not necessarily sustained by a handout from donors or from governments or from NGOs or whatever. So the empowerment of local communities to run and own their own business and to be the masters of their own economic activity was what drove us. We asked them, why do you think what you make is not being purchased? Why do you think what you are growing is not being bought? And the answers came back from them themselves. Our quality is not high and we don't know how to access the market. So in a very huge and a very, very complex arrangement, we boiled it down to those two things. So for the last year and a half or so, the Responsible Tourism Partnership, as a partner in the IIED Darwin project, has been addressing the issue of the tourism economy at large. When we think of tourism, yes, we think of vehicles and airplanes and buses and trains and camps and lodges and hotels and so forth. Yes, we do think of those. But that doesn't link back in terms of economic livelihoods for people who live around areas of economic activity from tourism. So we look further down the value chain and look at where do lodges buy the food they put on the table that tourists eat? Where do the baskets get made and where do they get bought? And are they of good quality? So we looked down the value chain and we found out that there are a number of very, very simple, but very complex issues to be addressed. So we set about looking at the value changes in order that we could help to make better places for people to live and better places for people to visit. That's the ethic of responsible tourism. So in doing so, we aim to stimulate the process of change in the quality of goods and services. Goods and services being exported out of a village into a lodge is a net export. It's a revenue earner, it's an employer, and especially it's an employer if it's been created as a business. So it adds value to a typical two-night safari around Bwindi, and that's the key. The key is that because it is a one-stop shop for tourism, meaning guerrilla tourism in this particular instance, people come in, they arrive one afternoon, they do trekking gorillas the following morning. The afternoon is free to do what? Maybe another gorilla trek, and the girls will probably tell us about that. And then the very next day they go home or go on the next trip. So we're driving at creating the reason why people can stop one extra night. But developing higher quality goods and higher quality services is not enough. For a tour operator, and any of you who are tour operators, you will know this, it's not enough to create the momentum of creating another night. Because adding an extra night in this equation is an additional 30 to 40% of tourism expenditure from businesses around. And I stress businesses around because we have an ethic in the Responsible Tourism Partnership that if you simply put money into a poor person's pocket, it's highly likely you will make them more poor unless you teach them how to spend it or unless they've earned it themselves. And I've got a great story about that to tell you at the end of our session. So it creates viable new product. So we went out to the ground operators, as I said, we went to the international tour operators, two of whom are with us now, one ground operator from Uganda and two international. They will tell their stories, to find out what it would take to actually leverage that one extra night. It increases the local and retained revenue from the tourism expenditure. If we think about goods being purchased for sale in a lodge, lettuces, tomatoes, aubergines, bananas, apples, right? At the moment what happens is that lodges individually send a vehicle an hour or 2 hours down the track to the nearest market and they buy everything and bring it back. When all around the national park at Bwindi, people grow things. They've been growing things for millennia. They are subsistence dwellers. They're ex-poachers who are now disenfranchised, and their communities and their families. I think 450 Dillis was the number we intended to target, right? We have Dillis from IAD here, by the way, just to let you know. It's really important that these messages happen because there's another reason, and that is that the more that the people around are economically empowered and have direction over their own future, the less they will rely or want to rely on the national park. Now, it's a national park for a reason. Despite the fact that they were harvesting from the national park for many thousands of years before 1991, Andrew? 91, Bwindi. We have the Director General of the Wildlife Authority here with us and the CEO of the Tourist Board, by the way. Thank you very much, guys. They've been used to harvesting whatever's in the forest. Now they're not allowed to. So what is the alternative? What is the economic alternative? That's what we've been addressing. And it creates linkages. If you don't link product development to the market, if you don't create access for the sale of goods and services, then there's no point in even starting. So we've been trying to do that as well. So what it does is to create positive economic impact. And that impact is extremely important. You need to be able to help to make a difference. Small changes will make big differences if the right pieces of the jigsaw are put in place with the right people and the continuity continues. it contributes substantially to poverty alleviation. And I'll tell you a really lovely story about that at the end as well. Poverty alleviation doesn't necessarily hinge on more money. Poverty alleviation hinges on access to light. Access to light, power, clean water. All these things in the melange of development initiatives need to be addressed in a very complex but not complicated scenario. It improves local people's attitudes to conservation. It is really powerful how many people have said to us in the last year and a half, Peter, we're really thankful for you showing us a new way because now we don't have to go to the forest. It's just so powerful when they say that, and especially when it's an ex-poacher saying it, coming fresh from his hive after he's collected his honey, and he's put it in a jar and he's sold it. But that's the problem as well, because the jar is dirty, the label is horrible, it's a plastic jar, and the moment you take the honey out with your spoon, it dribbles down the side, so the next person who picks it up has the bottle sticking to their hand. These things go to quality, which we've been trying to address. And it reduces the threats to the whole biodiversity of the forest, where gorillas are the icon species. Now, Andrew, don't get angry at me, but I'm going to tell you, gorillas are not the most endangered species in that forest. There are other species in that forest which are more endangered, okay? But they haven't been seen for a long time, so we don't even know if they're there still, like leopards, for example. But the gorilla is a global icon species and deserves the protection that UA gives it, which means that we also work very closely with UA. Pontius Zuma, the chief park warden, and I have become very good friends over the years. And if this man is running around doing things with relocating giraffes and stuff, Pontius and I get on with doing gorilla stuff, which is good. It's really excellent, because he can't be everywhere at all at the same time. So in addressing those very specific issues, what have we achieved? Remember, we're after product that tour operators and ground operators can sell to leverage one extra night, and we're after increased quality of the delivery of goods and services. That's what this is about, because that equals livelihood change and equals biodiversity protection and enhances the tourist experience. So we're very pleased that only after a year and a half, we have 2 new weave designs for baskets. And they're there in front of you. Alfie's brought them all the way from Uganda. We've engaged the services of one of Uganda's top artists, and we've addressed the issue of quality. Now this guy, Sana Gateja, how many of you have been to Uganda or East Africa? Have you seen those little paper beads that everybody wears, right? They're on bracelets and necklaces. This guy invented it here in London in 1991. So Sana has been working with our ladies, if you like. He and I have designed these 2 new baskets, new dyes made from leaves and ash and roots, which are from the forest but now grown outside the forest. And he's shown them how to weave more fine. These baskets have never been seen in Uganda before, and they're going off the shelves. There's an international online basket retailer, okay, who saw these baskets in Paris just a couple of weeks ago, and already they're up online internationally for sale. We've got a problem though, because the baskets are now too good. The other baskets on the shelves, they're not selling so well. But there's a really good story about the baskets. So these are the ones. More than 30 lady weavers have been through 6 one-week training programs, residential courses at Sana's compound in Lubowa. So this isn't something that we just send him out there and say, go do it. There's a proper training program. We bring the ladies in, we put them in tents on his compound, we feed them, and they spend all day, every day, singing, laughing, weaving, creating new stuff that they know will sell because it's already selling back in Ruhija or Bohoma or Rubuguri or wherever they're being sold. A new lodge owner came into one of our ladies at Change a Life Bwindi, and he spotted this big basket. Now the big basket is brand new, never been done before. He spotted it and instantly ordered 50. 50. This huge order, it's never happened. In the whole of the tourism industry in Bwindi, it's never happened that a lodge owner has come and said, I want those baskets for my new lodge, and they're all made by local women. All. And all the materials are local. All the dyes are local. And the expertise to get them to this quality is showing through because they're selling like crazy. The product differentiating label. We decided that if we were going to up the quality, there needed to be a way, apart from a visual way of people seeing, to market separately. So we designed something. We designed the forest-friendly label. Those of you at the front can possibly see, it's the juxtaposition between an ape and a man in a forest, and it's 100% forest-friendly. So these stickers go in the shops, and these labels go in the baskets. So that when a tourist arrives at a lodge, craft shop, or at an enterprise shop, they can see immediately that there's a difference. And that justifies the price. And that justifies increased margins. And that justifies more money going back to the ladies. So the whole thing starts cascading, which is very powerful in livelihood change and poverty reduction. In addition to that, we've been working down the value chain at this issue of food consumption. I know a guy who has a commercial business buying, bottling and selling honey in Uganda. A guy called Brian Mugisha, and his brand is Bee Mine. Now I got Brian up, and he has been training beekeepers in new methods to design hives, new methods of growing different flowers with higher pollen count, new ways of harvesting to increase the quality and increase the quantity. To such a degree where 3 weeks ago he had a visitation from people from Sweden who said to him, Brian, if you can get these guys to produce 40 tons of honey a year, we'll buy everything. He's already producing 4 from there and 20 from up in Karamoja, but he has loved this concept so much that he's now training 3 sets of beekeepers, 1 set who are ex-poachers, okay, down around Umpungu, and he's setting about getting this target. They've given him 10 years to get to 40 tons. And so we're going to design another one of these labels, which will be a special Bwindi brand honey, special bottles, to mark the quality and to increase the margins. You see the cascade thing happening again? It's the same people with spending the same money to build the hives, spending the same amount of time, but doubling the price of the honey because the quality is higher and the presentation is better. So the cascade comes down. And the more that cascade comes down into their business, and we will be mobilizing somebody next year, hopefully from Umbarara University, to teach illiterate people about the fundamentals of business. Okay, that program has already been designed, it's already in place. All we need is a bit of money, and we'll put it together. So that they are empowered by their own business. No one's selling stuff and giving them money, no, they're doing it themselves. But that doesn't make for product that tour operators can buy. So, what we've done is to look at what extra can people do when they're around Bwindi. And when we asked people what they wanted to do, they said they wanted to get closer to people. They wanted to learn more about culture. They wanted to learn more about the daily lives of people. Now, in 2008, 2009, I was working very closely with some very good friends of mine, the guy that started Wilderness Safaris, Colin Bell, and also a guy called Derek Joubert. The two of them at the time owned Great Plains Conservation in Botswana and Kenya. Now, we ran this experiment in Rwanda with high net worth individuals. And I personally, I was on another project, but we were running the experiment. I went to the airport to see these people on their way out. And there were 200 in one season. And almost to a person, they said, "We came for the gorillas, we went home with the people." And this is so important. So how do we get people content into an itinerary that tour operators can sell? Right, so we started creating new walking trails. And we created 3 new walking trails with 6 specialist guides who today, the guide trainer will be signing his contract. In fact, I've just got an email from him. He's got the contract. He's going to sign it today. And he will be putting together an elite guide training program for these 6 guys who have emerged out of 40 as being most enthusiastic, most committed, and most willing to learn, and most willing to invest in themselves. And that's a really key issue. They need to invest in themselves. So we've created 3 new walking trails, and we're not calling them community walks anymore. They have specific trail names. If any of you are into trails around the world, all the big selling ones have got a name. You know, the Inca Trail, the Milford Sound Trail, the Annapurna Trail. They've all got names, and they've got names for a reason. So we've got them now. And here they are, hot off the press. Dilys brought them just from the office right now. So we've GPSed them, we've waymarked them, we've put them on Google Maps and Google Earth, we've written the itineraries, and we've been to every place along the way. And there's stories, myths, legends, blacksmiths, Batwa, who are the Pygmy people, Batwa apiculture happening. There are ex-poachers learning to be market gardeners. There are waterfalls and bird hides and all this sort of stuff. And they're all here. And this has never been available before. Married with training the guides, this can be a saleable product. This can be a saleable product. So now we have a situation where we have really high quality weaving, producing new baskets with forest-friendly dyes, 3 new trails, 6 new guides who will be being trained before Christmas. And in order that these are displayed, we're also going to design and make some new display shelves built by a high-quality artisan from Kisoro, who will get up to Kampala. He'll spend a week with Sanar as well, so that the lodges can have somewhere proud to show these things with the labels on them. And that the ladies in Ride for a Woman in Bahama or over in Rabuguri at the honey shop, Brian Mugisha is so taken with this stuff, he's set aside a corner of his honey shop. He's made a honey shop in Rabuguri, and he's going to have a craft corner with this stuff. The lodges have agreed to band together to buy fruits and vegetables now being grown by the ex-poachers. Right now, as we speak here, I have an agronomist out there working with the ex-poachers at Rabuguri, showing them how to mulch, how to compost, how to grow lettuces and aubergines and rosemary and parsley, so that they can, in addition to what they already grow, they can grow these things, and the lodges have agreed to buy them. So the waiters, when they deliver the salad for lunch or for dinner, can say, "This was harvested today from the ex-poachers down the road." That is huge, huge. In emotive terms, for a tourist to sit down and have a salad they know has been grown by ex-poachers just down the road and only picked this morning, wow, that's pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff. In addition to that, and finally, the Food and Agricultural Organisation. I was down there 3 weeks ago, and they called me and said, "We're hearing about this honey project that you've got going around Bwindi. Can you please come and talk to us?" So I hauled Brian in. The 2 of us went to see the people at FAO in Kampala. They are so stuck with this that they've asked us to put together a concept paper through the Ministry of Agriculture, guys. We need to work on this together. Through the Ministry of Agriculture to access a single source fund of something about 300K or whatever, to finally, after 10 years, put value addition equipment and training into a building that they built at Rabuguri 10 years ago and has been sitting empty. This is the United Nations getting involved at their own request. So we're going to try and make that happen as well. So I just wanted to reiterate that the power of the tourism economy, let's not get stuck on the obvious things. Let's look further down the track. So with that, let me hand off to one of our international tour operators to give an international perspective of how this could benefit them as a company and their clients. Thank you.
Hi there, my name's Megan. I'm the Responsible Tourism Manager at Exodus Travels. We're a UK-based outbound adventure tour operator. We currently take about 35,000 people away a year, and they are on either cycling, trekking, family holidays or wildlife spotting. We operate about 500 itineraries in 90 different destinations. So to give you a bit of background about why we're here today, and Exodus are representing and working with Peter, our responsible tourism policy really is sort of ingrained in all we do. We see responsible tourism as the only way that we think we should travel, and hopefully the only way that anybody should travel. One element of our responsible tourism policy states that we will make every effort to ensure our trips contribute positively to local economic development. So from the point of itinerary conception, we really look at how we can include the local economy and the local community in our trips. So this can be from local accommodation, the use of just local staff, local transport providers, and of course inclusions like the one that Peter has talked about, the ones that he's talked about. So this approach to tourism really is so ingrained in everything that we do. So much so that last year we actually piloted a study in Nepal to measure the local economic impact of our tourism. We were measuring our spend as a company, and we were also measuring our customers' discretionary spend. The point of this was just to make sure that our tourism is reaching the people that need it the most. We also designed specific projects all around the world to ensure that we contribute, again, that little bit further. So an example is one that we developed last year was an eco-cafe in Ladakh in India. It's very small, it's in a place called Hankar, and it's staffed just by local women, and the point is to provide an alternative source of income to their traditional subsistence lifestyles through tourism. So although it's only small, again, like a lot of the stuff Peter has talked about, they might seem like small inclusions, but the local economic impact is massive. So for those women, they've tripled their earnings in the space of a year. What that means is they can feed their families, easily. There's no stress, there's no, concern for the rest of what their development is for the year. So that poverty alleviation has been huge in that area. Okay. So why do we do this? Why is this our company ethos? Why do we believe in responsible tourism, and why do we believe we should conduct our business in this way? Obviously, we believe it's the right thing to do, but we also believe that it's what our clients want, and it's a reason why they travel with us again and again, and it's a reason why it's a way for us to communicate that we share the same values as our clients. So these quotes, I think the top one really sums it up, that Exodus should be proud of the very practical ways its policies translate into helping people need the tourist dollars. I think that just sort of shows how much we do pay attention to the value chain, as Peter's discussed, and making sure that those people that need the money at the bottom of the chain get it. We think that our clients travel with us again and again because of these rich, local, authentic experiences. Mostly these are related to interactions that they have with the local community, and mainstream tourism often avoids that, or you don't tend to get you don't learn the stories, you don't meet the people, and you don't really get to grips kind of with the destination. We know that people travel with us again and again because this is the sort of authentic experience that they enjoy. Inclusions such as the one Peter has talked about, we know they certainly add value to our trips, and are often, as what was your quote about leaving, they travel to Uganda to see the gorillas and they leave with the people. I mean, that just sums up so much of what we see again and again, is that people think they're going to a destination for a highlight and they come back with a totally different experience. They could have gone to Jordan and thought they were going to Petra was the absolute highlight, but actually having that cup of tea with a woman on the side of a mountain was instead what they'll remember forever and ever. So we know that these experiences are what people choose, why people come back and why they recommend us to their friends. So to Bwindi, we take approximately 220 people a year to Bwindi across 2 different separate itineraries. Both of those itineraries have 2 days in Bwindi. So one day is always an included gorilla trek, that's why people travel there. And the second day, we always offer an optional gorilla trek, but you need to book this before departure. So currently, about 65% of our clients choose to do the optional gorilla trek, and we're currently okay with fulfilling that request for permits and to be able to offer it. Earlier this year, as many of you might know, Rwanda actually doubled their gorilla permit fee. What we're seeing is, of course, an increased demand in Uganda. We're expecting next year for that to just grow and grow and grow. So we're unsure if we're going to be able to continue to offer quite so easily the second day in Bwindi, gorilla trekking. So yeah, although 65% people choose to see the gorillas, they might not be able to have a second day, and it might be the case that they would rather do something else. Currently, we just say, if you don't want to go, just chill out, just have a nice day, do what you want, which actually doesn't sit with our customers. They're active, they're adventurous, they want to do stuff and they want to learn about the local community. So yeah, of course, that's until now. Peter and the team, we have a huge amount of other stuff that we could be offering clients. It's exactly the sort of stuff that we want, and it's brilliant that they've come to us, because we often task our local operators to find these things, but this way round is just, it's perfect. So in the future, once everything, very soon, I think, by the sound of it, everything is fully established. Of course, on day 2 in Bwindi, we'll be offering a lot of these as optional extras. But what we would like to do is to really work out how we can include an extra day in our itinerary, so we can include these and have a full day on one of the new nature trails, learning about the flora and fauna and learning more from local people about Uganda. So, my final slide is, what can you do? You're all here, you all work in the tourism industry, and hopefully you all have a bit of leverage over what you can do in your destination to further spread the tourist dollar. I'd like to think that everybody would leave here thinking about what they can do and how this contributes to poverty alleviation, and just the small changes that we've said that can be actually hugely fundamentally different on the ground, and the difference they can make. So I hope, of course, that you see that not only is this, for us and for you, the right way to do tourism, it also makes total business sense. That's it. Thank you.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. I'm Naomi, and I'm a product manager at Explore, and I also head up the Responsible Business Forum within our company. Megan and I were just saying before this, we're not fabulous public speakers, and I've just spotted a lot of my colleagues in the crowd, so bear with me. We visit Uganda, and we have 7 departures a year, approximately, depending on demand year to year. Unlike Exodus, we actually don't visit Rwanda, so we haven't been affected by that impact yet. However, if everyone continues to come to Uganda in the way that we think will happen, we could also be looking at alternatives. But at the moment, we spend 3 days in Uganda, 3 days in Bwindi when we're in Uganda, and we are already selling some of these optional excursions to our customers very positively. Our customers are feeding back to us that they're enjoying the experience with the local people. And so to be here and talk about it today is really positive for us, because we've already seen that it's working, and it can definitely grow and just grow and keep getting better. Very much like Exodus, responsible travel is in everything that we do. The whole basis of our business is small group itineraries, running the same itinerary over and over again. So for the 7 departures that go to Uganda in 2018, they will visit the same places. And we must be a responsible operator to keep visiting the same places. We want to be welcomed back each time that we go somewhere. We want local people to want to welcome Explore, to see the Explore sign turn up and be happy to see the bus arrive, be happy to see our tour leaders in their uniform arrive, and think that our customers coming is going to have a positive impact on them. We have something, we have a lot of initiatives within the company that we do within the Responsible Business Forum. One of them, which is new, but I'm very proud of, is something called the Startup Fund. And I think the exciting thing about what's going on in Bwindi is actually it's a really good template to take and use anywhere. This can be used anywhere around the world. There's so many places that have one main attraction. And in this case, Bwindi, that's the gorillas. But like Megan said, actually, you're arriving to see gorillas and going away thinking Bwindi is a lot more than just the gorillas. With our startup fund, it's small money, it's nothing massive, but we have a set amount of budget per year that we give to small projects. They apply for the fund, and it has to be a sustainable project that can continue to run without any further funding from us. And this year we're giving £1,000 to a small project in Gambia. So as I said, it's not huge money, but it's £1,000 to build a water hole to irrigate a vegetable patch, which is already in existence. The women of this small village look after this vegetable patch, but they're not having much luck because they don't have a reliable source of water. So they're going to use the money to build a water hole, they're going to irrigate their vegetable patch, and they're selling the vegetables, the crops that they're growing, to the hotel that our customers are staying in. That's the sort of thing that our customers will love. They will want to know that. They'll want to meet the women during the day, during their itinerary, and eat the food and the crops in the evening. This is something that's really exciting for us. They will spend the money on sending their children to school. They will now be able to sustain this project alone without any further funding, all being well. I think the clincher for them winning the fund was that they said if they send all of their children to school, they'll all become Explore leaders. And so we're really happy. The more the merrier. I mean, just behind me, or on both sides, I've put this circle of points, and I think the point is with anything like Bwindi or the projects going on, the £1,000 that we put in, it doesn't have to be big money, it has to be sustainable, it has to be empowering for the people. If we can engage them in wanting to continue to look after themselves without donations, to do something that they enjoy, and to reap the rewards of that, then this will continue. And it's a circle because it will only keep going that way. You need every part of this circle for it to be successful. All right, I'm being hurried along, which is fine by me. Bwindi, so this comment is from our local agent in Uganda. We're very lucky that our tour leaders who we train, they come to the UK to be trained with Explore, are really engaged with the projects that are going on. We do already sell 3 optional activities, so the customers can choose what they want to do when they're in Bwindi with this project. But I've just been handed the new trails, so I'm sure soon we'll be selling 6 optional excursions. The key is variety, and I think that's something that Peter and everyone involved has done really well to realise. Basket weaving and hiking, giving people different options. The customers are going to keep wanting to do something and putting money into the local community and spending time with the people. And the final slide, I'll let you read this. But this is an independent review on our website. It's with an independent review company, so it's untouched by Explore. And as you can see, the customers think that this is a great experience when they're in Bwindi, and they're glad to be putting the money back into the community. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Naomi. Thank you very much. Ladies and gents, I'm going to introduce you to Alfie from Let's Go Travel Uganda for the perspective from a ground operator in Kampala who is very active not only in ground operations but also in supporting the community as a company and also with local lodges. Alfie.
Thank you, Peter. Good afternoon, everybody. As Peter said, my name is Alfie Kamiansamba. I work for Let's Go Travel, one of the 4 directors who run the company. I'd like to give you a unique perspective from a ground operator point of view as to why, one of the phrases, one of the words that's been used a lot is exciting. Why is this so exciting? That's probably better. Thank you. From a ground handler's point of view, we're tasked to come up with experiences that are authentic, immersive, representative, and do all of that in a responsible way. And if that happens, all the visitors who come to, in this case, Bwindi and Uganda, leave with an unmistakable Ugandan experience. You don't want to go to a destination and come out feeling you've been somewhere else. So the initiatives that are going on at the moment, I believe, are ticking all those boxes. They're authentic, they're immersive, they're representative of the region, and we believe once they're up and running, and you've already heard some success stories, people are leaving having had a truly Ugandan experience. And the way in which that is being done are through the points you can see behind me, through education, partnerships, and opportunity. So education, what's happening there? Everybody's been educated. The ladies who are doing the weaving, they have been upskilled. They could weave before, they won a competition. They've been upskilled to make sure that what they make is of a specific quality. So as Peter said, it has a better opportunity to be sold, and that revenue goes straight into their back pocket. The market gardeners are learning new techniques, how to grow vegetables and fruits that we already have commitment will be sold to hotels and lodges. But in this instance, they're learning new techniques to grow fruits and vegetables that they will not eat themselves. The apiculturists, the beehives, the people who are making honey, there are new techniques that Brian McGeach is introducing to them, where you have a smaller startup capital to create the hives and also get a better yield from the honey so that more honey is produced by less bees. I myself have learnt a lot in this process about some of the unique aspects to do with culture and tradition surrounding the Bwindi area, which has been good for me. When you're developing a tourist or product service in this way, it means that everybody benefits. And as my colleague over there said, it's a template that can be used in different countries. So that's exciting. One thing that we've done here in terms of education that's unique is the train-the-trainer approach. So as Peter said, the local artist called Mr. Sanaga Teja, trained people in his studio in Kampala. And the reason he did that is so that those people can go and train other ladies and other weavers in Uganda, in Bwindi. It's very difficult to take a sterile classroom environment and put it into a forest. So in training trainers, it means that the trainers that are trained are able to disseminate that information in a better, more effective way, and the people who are being trained are able to pick it up. Moving on to my second part, partnerships. Partnerships are very important, and the ones that have been developed here you can see on the stage today between a ground handler and international operators. That extends down the stream to the people who are providing the products and services. The reason the partnerships are important is they then engender a vested interest for this initiative to succeed. You've already seen the feedback that the international tour operators get. We get the same type of feedback, and all that benefits the ladies who are doing the weaving, or the gentlemen who are doing the beekeeping, and also doing the trails and the guided walks. The better feedback we get, the more of this we can offer. The more we can offer, the better it is for the people who are on the ground locally. Everybody's used the word exciting. It's exciting because this is a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity to do something positive for people in and around an area that we're already working in. We've talked about the iconic image of gorillas in the mist in Bwindi in Uganda, but there is more than that in Uganda. And you can see here just a small part of what else we can offer. And that's why it's exciting, because it's inclusive. We're including more and more people who are Ugandan, who live in Uganda, who are able to give you a more authentic Ugandan experience. That's my second point over here. We can show off really what Bwindi has to offer. Yes, the gorillas live there, but a lot of other people do in and around the forest. There are a lot of other things you can get up to. My final point, just here, because unfortunately we've run out of time, linking all the way back to what Peter said, this is about using tourism in a positive way. There is some well-established rhetoric and literature that shows, unfortunately, at the moment, there isn't a good link between a national park and the people who live in and around the national park. And that's a sad story. We need to change that. We need to make people who live in and around the national park have a positive aspect, a positive thought when it comes to tourism. And that's me done. Thank you.
Thanks, Alfie. Just very quickly, just one more. To let you know, Dilys has got some of the project brochures for anyone who would like to take one. And I have some of the itineraries here if anyone would like them. But I just wanted very quickly, I've got two other things to do, and I know I'm cribbing time, so please bear with me. When Harold and I did a lot of work in Slovenia many years ago, we were working to the British ambassador's office in Ljubljana, and we saw some stickers on rubbish bins and things. And they said, your everyday life is somebody else's adventure. And that's stuck with us for the last 30 years. And so that's what we've been looking for. We've been looking for people's everyday life that can be turned into other people's adventure to the benefit of both, to make a better place for people to live and a better place for people to visit. And I want to just finish on this for impact's sake. That's a photograph of the ladies who wove those baskets. They said, don't pay us. Please buy solar panels for our houses. I talked about poverty reduction techniques before. This puts light into their homes so the kids can study at night and so forth and so on. So with that, I'm going to close. But before I do, and we can take some questions if you have them, I notice we have the Honourable Minister, Professor Kamuntu, with us. So would you like to just come and address the audience for some quick minute? Because I think that this probably needs to be put into a national perspective. Because in essence, what we've been doing is creating a pilot that shows international best practice around Bwindi. Honourable. And the Minister knows better than anybody how that will apply internationally. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. You want? Oh, I can use this one.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank Peter and his team for responding to one of the most pressing challenges we face in the industry, in the tourism industry. And there are 4 challenges, and I'm so pleased, Peter. And I have in the audience authorities responsible for conservation as well as promotion of tourism. I have seen the chairman of Uganda Wildlife Authority, together with his chief executive, Dr. Seguya. I've seen the Chief Executive Officer for Uganda Tourism Board, as well as Ngamba Island, which is one of the conservation areas. What I'm saying in the context of your presentation, Peter, and your team.
Thank you, sir.
The 4 challenges we face in the industry, which I'm so pleased, Peter, you are responding to them. The first one is marketing and promotion. And that one we are addressing, UTB is addressing it, We have hired 3 firms for marketing. One of them, Camegio, is here in UK. We have one German-speaking and one in US. The 3 remaining ones, which you have responded to, one is skills gap. Just having skills, human development skills gap is one of the challenges we face in the industry. That involves training, giving people skills, which you have done. I'm so pleased you have done so. But more importantly, is the challenge of product diversification, having products in the industry so that when the tourists come, they have a variety of things they can see, they can enjoy, that can make them stay and be satisfied. These products you have seen, as you can see, the quality is first class. It involved developing skills for them to be developed. This is fantastic. But you also saw in the presentation, they went even a step further. Introduced beekeeping. Beekeeping is clearly in line with wildlife conservation. And then irrigation for product, just agricultural production. And in so doing, they have done one of the greatest challenges globally, inclusiveness. Nobody should be left behind. That's the talk. Inclusiveness of communities to benefit from the revenues, the international tourists arriving in their communities. Inducing self-interest of the communities to conserve these assets. I can tell you one of the challenges, and who is here, from the president down the line, the conflict between human life and wildlife is a real challenge. For the animals which destroy the crops of the people, and they feel they have lost at the expense of tourists, the way you have approached it induces a stake in conserving these assets because they are benefiting. Look at these women who are there, solar lighting for their children. Look at them, beekeeping products. Look at the income that they're generating from the products as a result of this effort. We can't thank you enough. Yes, we cannot thank you enough. This is being done in Bwindi Impenetrable Forest. I would like to see this in all the national parks. We have 10 national parks, 12 game reserves. I can tell you, yours is exemplary. You can see in one place. All these conflicts, Andrew, you would be addressing them. I know we have revenue sharing of entry fee to the parks. It's about 20%. The impact is not the same. This is more inclusive, this is more human, this is more skilling, and it is more sustainable. Ladies and gentlemen, come to Uganda, add to the revenue of these people. You are most welcome, as they will welcome you because they have a vested interest in your coming. Thank you very much, Peter. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Honourable. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have crib time, unfortunately. Is there anybody with a really burning question? If not, I will sort of be around and we can answer them. But thank you all for coming and stopping. It's a big crowd, thanks. We hope we've inspired you, and we hope that we can be in touch. Now, in the absence of the time for questions, what you can do, if you wanted to learn more about this, you could go onto the Responsible Tourism Partnership website, and there's a drop-down menu under Resources, and it's called Bwindi. And this whole story is there. We've been trying to update it on a regular basis. There are the photographs there and the stories and so forth. And my contact is on there as well. I'll be very happy to talk to you on the email or Skype or anything. If you need more inspiration, or as Honourable said, if any of you want us to come and do it with you around your national parks or protected areas, or if Andrew can go off to the World Bank and get more money, we'll come and do it back there again. And it's about impact. The Minister just said it again. It's about impact. So thank you very, very much for your patience and your time. I'm sorry to have held you up, but thanks a lot.